Greetings, whiskey folk, and welcome back to the store after hours. Look at it in all of its closed glory. All right, if you haven't seen my first video from this little mini series, I'm doing some top fives from this year's 2022 Strath whiskey sale. Check out the first one that was on the top 5 bargains. This time, however, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 picks for weird and wonderful whiskies that you might not necessarily have heard of or considered. But I can absolutely vouch for the quality and the flavor of. It might not be the kind of flavor profile that you like, but if it is, I vouch for the quality of this particular whiskey. And we start off with something a little familiar, because this was actually my number 1 in the last video. Yeah, it's that good. I wanted to do it back to back because I cannot get enough of how much I love this whiskey, and I am going to be sad when it's gone, but it's this one. Tea and Innick, from the Single Malts of Scotland. Such an absolute stonking bargain. Even at full price, this is a great whiskey. I brought this in and I went heavy. I got all of it for, I believe, the whole of Canada, at least the whole of BC. And I think I got all of it for Canada from the whole country. Because it reminded me so much of one of my all-time favorite whiskeys, Clynelish 14. I've just said all this, so if you want more information, just go back to the other video. It's worth a watch anyway. But yeah. Great value, but also, even if it wasn't great value, just a weird, wonderful whiskey that if you haven't tried a Tea and Innick, and if you haven't tried a Single Malts of Scotland whiskey, it's an independent bottler that's relatively new here in BC, do yourself a favor, pick this up. It's less than $100. It's actually, I'll tell you exactly the price. It's on sale at $94.70, full price is $126.87. You'd think I'd remember that after just saying it in the last video, but I have a memory like a goldfish when it comes to numbers, despite having a math degree, or most of a math degree. Anyway, whiskey number 4 is... It's at Apotiki Whiskey Company, Speyside number 4. This is the first ever batch of Speyside number 4. It's a mystery whiskey, but it's not really that much of a mystery. They give us a pretty heavy clue. They say that we're not just going to Glenlike it, we're going to Glenlove it. So yeah, it's probably a Glenlivet. Stands to reason. Really weird and wacky artwork. Not necessarily to everyone's taste, the look of this bottle, especially for most people who are interested in 24-year-old Glenlivets. It's not the style that you'd expect this style of whiskey to come in, but I like it. I think it's quirky, and the whiskey is incredible. Absolutely love this whiskey, and how often do you get a small batch 24-year-old Glenlivet? I'll answer that. Not very often. It is treated right as well. It's at a higher proof. It's 47.8% ABV, unchill filtered, uncoloured, and interestingly as well, comes in a 500ml bottle, which means that you get to try this whiskey without having to pay for a 750ml bottle, right? So this is regular price $243.39, and it's on sale right now for 20% off, making it $194.70. So that equates, if you're taking into account that this is a 50ml bottle, a 750ml bottle at that price would be $300, which is an absolute steal for a 24-year-old Glenlivet. Like, I probably should have put this in the first video as bargains, to be honest, but it's a weird one, it's a wacky one, it's one that you wouldn't necessarily look for or expect, but it's one that if you like that sort of rich Speyside Glenlivet style, then you will probably like this whiskey. I can vouch for it. I think it's great. So if you like Glenlivet, you might Glenlove this one. Whiskey number 3. It's an S&WS. This is S&WS 39.216, and this is kind of representative of all of the S&WSs because they're all single cask, one of a kind, never see them again whiskies. But this one in particular, I think, missed out on the full appreciation that it deserves. This is a first fill ex-bourbon barrel 39 liquid. Absolutely beautiful. This one, I got a lot of sort of orchard fruits, again, a herbalness. I'm really on the herbal whiskies right now. I love it. So lots of apricots. The official tasting notes mention things like peppermint, clotted cream, quince jelly, apricots and plums, yeah. And it's just a really vibrant, lovely, juicy whiskey. It's a summery whiskey, and I know that it's not summer anymore, which you can tell because it's only like 9 o'clock when I'm recording this video and it's bloody pitch black. But yeah, if you're longing for summer, if you miss those summer feelings, this is a really good summery whiskey, which can take you right back there in just one glass. And if you're probably familiar, if you're a fan of my YouTube channel with the S&WS, because I release an S&WS video every single month, you might have seen me enjoy this one in the past, but you won't have seen me say, it's 20% off. Yeah, this particular one, it's only $139.04 right now, which is a really good deal for this whiskey. Yeah, love me a Linkwood. All right, whiskey number 2. So, what's the most unexpected thing you could find in a video about weird and wacky recommendations that you wouldn't necessarily look for or expect? One of the best known whiskey brands in the world. Yes, number 2 choice is Jack Daniels? Yeah, the Sinatra Select is stunning. I tried this for the first time at a private tasting I did on Main Island with a bunch of absolutely wonderful people, great whiskey fans out on Main Island. And we did a Scotland versus America tasting at different price ranges. And Scotland won the $100, Scotland won the $200. I can't remember who won the $200 one. All I remember is in the $300-ish range, this blew the Scotch out of the water. I didn't expect it. I really didn't. Jack Daniels has always been hey, it's Jack, it's Old Faithful, you have it with Coke, and I've had some of the special editions, I've had the Distillers editions, I've had the, Masters, I can't remember what they call them now, the ones with the special labels of the different Master Distillers throughout time, really good as well. And I've enjoyed all of the special edition Jack Daniels. I loved this one. And I felt weird about it. I really did. But I give it my seal of approval. I will let you know if you like Jack Daniels. If you're a whiskey fan, you like cool, interesting, different whiskeys, and secretly you're like, I have Jack Daniels when I go out to the bar. If I'm on an airplane, offered a whiskey, I'll have a Jack Daniels. I'll have it maybe sometimes with Coke, maybe sometimes I'll have it on my own, on its own, on its own, flying solo. Jack Daniels Sinatra Select is just the classic Jack Daniels flavor, but perfected. For my taste at least. Absolutely beautiful, big, rich, sort of more wood notes than the classic Jack Daniels. It leans a little bit towards more bourbon notes as well, to be honest. So if you're a fan of high-end bourbon, but you also like Jack, this probably would do you quite well. Big banana notes, which is kind of what I look for in Jack Daniels in general. Lots of banana bread and caramels. And it's really heavy as well because it's a big, thick glass. It's also a 1 litre bottle. So I'm going to put this down and let you know the price. Ooh. All right, looking up in the book, it is on near the back, America. Ooh, Jack Daniels Sinatra Select, regularly $278.17. So yeah, it's in the sort of $300-ish range in that competition. I remember correctly. 13% off right now. You can get it for $243.39. Which, if a year ago you told me, hey, here's a $250 Jack Daniels, you should buy it, I'd tell you you were mad. But honestly, since trying it, it is really good. If you're not afraid of spending that kind of money for a quality whiskey and you like the style of a nice Tennessee whiskey, a nice Jack Daniels style whiskey, a sour mash, yeah, go for it. It's, I mean, I can't guarantee you won't be disappointed. Everyone's palate is different, but I was very, very impressed, and so was a room full of whiskey fans on Main Island. We sold several of these after that tasting, but we still have a couple left. Slancher. Whiskey number 1 for my weird and wonderful ones. Most people will have never heard of this. Some of you who might have seen my video or been to one of the tastings where we had this one will have heard of it, but it's pretty special. Here it is. Stork Club Full Proof. Yes. Again, if a year ago you tell me that, I live in Canada, the land of amazing rye whiskey, and, a close second place is America, just down south. We've got rye covered, right? If you told me a year ago that the best rye that I have tasted in years would not come from either of those two countries, I'd say, oh yeah, that makes sense, because I've had a really good rye from Ireland recently. Kilbeggan rye is excellent. Maybe they'll come up with a special edition, an improvement on the base formula. Close. European. But it ain't Irish. It's German. Stork Club is from Germany. It's a German rye. And it is, honestly, the best rye whiskey I've had this year. And I've had a lot of really good rye. Actually, shout out to a brand new rye that's just launched, Rifle Rye, from the guys at Alberta Distillers, is really good. If you remember Alberta Premium Dark Horse, same kind of idea as that. Imagine Dark Horse, but more like Lot 40. It's a halfway between Lot 40 and Dark Horse, and I really like it. Again, really good value for money. Rifle Rye just launched, very good whiskey. Other shout outs to rye. I really like Rogue. That's also in the sale right now. The same guys that make the beer down in the States, they make a really good malted rye as well, which was also on the main island tasting, same with the Sinatra Select. But yeah, I'm growing to love ryes, and this is a big part of that. This has really shown me how interesting a rye can be. I'm not going to go into the full details because it's quite wild. They use all kinds of different casks. It's mostly malted. I think it's 100% malt rye. I should remember at least that bit. I was about to start reading in German. But yeah, it is quite wonderful. And it actually won the best rye whiskey in the world in 2019. So it's not just me that thinks this is a pretty special one. Stork Club Full Proof. My number one pick for the weird and wacky whiskies that you probably weren't thinking about buying, but I think you should. Well, maybe. See you in the next one.